This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Greetings viewers, you're watching Pulse of Africa. I'm Adam Masai bringing you today's latest news. First, our top stories for today. AU urges permanent ceasefire and full implementation of revitalized peace accord in South Sudan. African countries are urged to shift from zero-sum politics to practicing democracy. Tanzania launched nationwide campaign to promote special economic zones. Now the news in detail. The African Union on Tuesday called for a permanent ceasefire and full implementation of the revitalized agreement on the resolution of the conflict in South Sudan, following a three-day field mission to Juba, the country's capital. The delegation, comprising representatives of 15 members of the AU Peace and Security Council, engaged with South Sudan's President Salva Kiir and other political leaders on the ongoing implementation of the revitalized peace accord. The Council stressed the need to ensure the full implementation of the remaining tasks in the revitalized agreement and called for permanent ceasefire and protection of civilians and humanitarian workers, the AUPSC said in a statement. The Council also called for an inclusive political high-level dialogue among the political leaders for an amicable resolution of the current political situation in the country. Ghanaian Vice President Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman urged African countries to practice democracy to ensure the transformation of their countries and provide for their people. At the opening of the three-day African Political Parties Summit in Accra, the capital of Ghana, Opoku-Agyeman said that politics divorced from the well-being and transformation of the people is empty. Our people do not ask us to practice politics for its own sake. They deserve politics that translate into food security, decent jobs, functional schools, accessible healthcare, infrastructure, security, and justice, the Vice President stressed. She highlighted the need to avoid divisive partisan politics, emphasizing that political power must not be achieved at the expense of peace and societal cohesion. Adam Farah, the Vice President of the Prosperity Party of Ethiopia and head of the Coordination Center for Democracy Building with the rank of Deputy Prime Minister, urged political leaders to move beyond zero-sum politics and adopt more inclusive approaches. For a long time, politics in many of our countries has been driven by power struggles, short-term agendas, and rivals draining national energy. We must move beyond zero-sum thinking, seeing political parties not as ends in themselves, but as instruments for inclusive, prosperous, and peaceful nations, Adam said. Party delegates and government officials from 34 African countries are attending the summit. Tanzanian authorities on Tuesday officially launched a nationwide investment promotion campaign aimed at accelerating the development of special economic zones. Speaking at the launch ceremony in Dar es Salaam, Kitila Mukumbo, Minister of State in the President's Office responsible for planning and investment, said that the campaign seeks to align SEZ development with national growth corridors and key infrastructure projects. This campaign reflects our unwavering commitment to building a strong industrial economy, Mukumbo said, adding that SEZs are not merely designated areas. They are central to our national economic transformation strategy. These zones have been strategically selected to promote balanced regional development and inclusive industrial growth, said Mukumbo. The Mozambican government has announced significant progress in establishing its National Development Bank. Government spokesperson Insonio Impisa confirmed that several preparatory steps have been completed, including drafting the initial legal framework, which will be submitted for public consultation in the coming days. The National Development Bank is an important instrument to leverage national development in a structured and inclusive manner, the spokesperson said, noting that the initiative aligns with efforts to create financing lines for the productive sector and to accelerate economic recovery. The bank is expected to channel funding into strategic sectors such as agriculture, infrastructure, and industry, aiming to address long-standing development bottlenecks while fostering resilience to external shocks. In other news, UN Special Envoy for Yemen Hans Grundberg said Tuesday that Yemen must not be drawn further into the regional turmoil, including the war in Gaza. The regional turmoil continues to erode prospects for peace and stability in Yemen, where the situation remains deeply fragile, he told the Security Council in a monthly briefing on the situation in Yemen. For Yemen to have a real chance for peace, it must be protected from being further drawn into the ongoing regional turmoil emanating out of the war in Gaza, said Grundberg. Therefore, the strikes against civilian ships in the Red Sea must cease. The missile attacks against Israel and the subsequent Israeli strikes on Yemen must also come to an end. Beyond complicating the mediation space for a long-term settlement of the conflict in Yemen, this escalation has led to the near destruction of Yemen's west coast port facilities, placing immense strain on Yemen's vital infrastructure, he noted. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is likely to meet U.S. President Donald Trump during his visit to attend the United Nations General Assembly in New York next month, local newspaper Indian Express said Wednesday. According to the newspaper, preparations are underway to schedule a visit by Modi to the United States in the last week of September. The key objective will be to iron out the issues on trade and arrive at a common ground on tariffs, the newspaper said.
The story of resurgent Ethiopia and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. All the time, Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.
Next up, business news. Zambia needs approximately $34.7 billion to implement its national climate change adaptation plan between 2023 and 2035, a senior government official said Tuesday. Minister of Green Economy and Environment Mike Maposa said that the government is actively mobilizing the necessary financing through various mechanisms. We are also mobilizing resources from multilateral development banks, including the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and the International Finance Corporation. Maposa said that the opening of the 2025 Global National Adaptation Plan Expo in Lusaka, the country's capital. He added that the government is also deploying innovative financing tools such as green bonds to secure the resources needed for the plan's implementation, financing tools such as green bonds to secure the resources needed for the plan's implementation. Finally, the Tunisia Investment Authority, TIA, recorded a dynamic first half of the year despite a challenging domestic economic climate. The reported investments of 3.3 billion Tunisian dinar reflect a return to structural projects in tourism, agro-processing, and certain value-added services. The driving force for the first half is in Jendouba, a Tunisian dinar, 300 million tourism complex generating 600 direct jobs, which should reposition the region in ecotourism and mountain tourism circuits far from being limited to seaside resorts. The TIA predicts a knock-on effect on total employment, nearly 45,839 opportunities announced, a sign of revival of local sectors. Before concluding, here's a quick look at the latest global commodities price updates. Next, let's take a look at the current weather forecast. That's all from Pulse of Africa today. Thank you for being with us.
This is Pulse of Africa, the face of Ethiopia, the voice of Africa.